to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sil, are we streaming live now or no? We are, right? We know what the volume, audio working? We don't know, right?
Okay, welcome to the July, we're going to start our meeting, okay? Welcome to the July meeting of the Philipstown Town Board. Workshop meeting minutes, April 16th, 2025. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Public hearing, June 5th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Monthly meeting of June 5th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Special meeting, June 11th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Public hearing, June 24th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Workshop meeting of June 24th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Busy month.
And I vote aye. Yes, that was a lot. Thank you all. Committee reports. Conservation Board. Jason is not here. Did he send you something?
No, I couldn't, I told him I was gonna try to make the meeting, but I couldn't either. That was the same night as, I think, a firehouse meeting. Anyway, there was only one thing on the agenda anyway for that night, but I couldn't tell you what it is off the top of my, what it was.
Extended report in August from Jason. Recreation.
The Recreation Commission did not meet in June, but will meet at the end of this month. But we're happy to say that camp is full and busy, and that the water tower is operational, and the repairs have been successful to the water tower. Do you want to add anything to that?
It was filled to the top on Tuesday. I spoke with Cody. It was 100% full, and knock wood, no leaks. The hydrant system is back up. That supplies the area, and it's also supplying water to the Garrison Institute and the Recreation Center. So it's back for now. We did meet with the group from Garrison Institute and the Rec Commission and SEMCO about the future of the tank. There's no guarantees. It could last 10 minutes. It could last 10 years. So they're looking into alternates to the tank itself, a ground-based unit, something along those lines. But the construction management company from Garrison Institute will handle the review and get back to us with engineering plans. So that's it. Sorry.
No, that's okay. So the next meeting of the Rec Commission will be at the end of July. We're still looking at dates. We will announce the date shortly.
Philipstown Hub.
The Philipstown Hub has facilitated support groups throughout the month of June, and adult grief and loss groups, as well as an ADHD group. And June was PTSD Awareness Month, so they were also assisting people that might have PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. They have offered during the summer a summer solstice program for kids. It's a craft program, and that was held in June, and kids of different ages made whimsical crafts with lots of supplies that were provided by the Hub, and that was a successful event for children. On June 25th, they hosted the Hub Dog, who is starting therapy training this summer, and they're excited to be working with a dog that's going to offer. Yes, I want to visit with the dog. And they had a table at the Cold Spring, participated in Cold Spring Community Day, which they, had a table, and they had activities for children. The Hub had several meetings. I'm not going to go through the whole list of meetings, but they have been out there in the community at almost every community event. So I want to thank Michelle Cupper, the executive director, the coordinators, and the staff for being at events throughout the community and raising awareness for the Hub. And they've also done meetings with the schools, with the Haldane and Garrison school districts, and with elected officials, as well as other organizations. In news at the Hub, an update is Jessica Canonis, who's been care coordinator for 4 years, had her last day on May 27. So we're grateful for Jessica's work as a coordinator. Alex Clegg had her last day in person on June 26. They're in the midst of interviewing candidates for care coordinator positions. And they also announced that the Assemblymember Dana Levenberg did provide a $15,000 grant. So thank you to Assemblymember Levenberg and the Hub for working together for the grant. Upcoming events include more support groups for women with ADHD. And also a Narcan training will be July 31st. To give you a few of the numbers for this period, there have been, through June, 260 contacts with the Hub, assisting people. And 76 of these were by phone, 133 via email, 32 via text. And all of these are contacts that the Hub coordinators are assisting, people they are assisting. So thank you all at the Hub for your work, and for the Hub, Philipstown Hub's board, obviously, and the executive director, Michelle Cupper, who has really hit the ground running.
One quick question, that 731 training, is that going to be, where's that going to be located, do you know? Is it going to be in Route 9, or is it going to be down here in the village?
That's a good question, Bob.
Because I haven't gone to one in a long time, I was thinking about trying to make it.
It's a Narcan training. It's going to be in Fishkill and Mamaroneck, actually. They're doing
it's
two.
not at the Hub then.
They've been requested, but they're doing another one at Butterfield Library for the local community on August 13th
Oh, okay.
at 7 p.m.
August 13th.
August 13th at 7 p.m. at the Butterfield Library.
Butterfield, okay, thank you.
The other one is for others that have requested it in other communities.
They're providing the training.
Yes, well, they're working with a group that's
If
going
you're
to.
not familiar with what Narcan does, it's truly a miracle. I mean, I worked as a paramedic, we had to do it IV. Now it's everywhere. It's a nasal injection now, and it's so simple, and it saves lives. As our ER nurse could tell us, it saves lives constantly saves lives. So if you haven't trained, if you don't have Narcan in your house or in your car, I have it in my car, I have it in my house. It's definitely amazing the way it works. So, and it's harmless, right?
Yeah.
Harmless. It's totally benign to patients. So. Okay. Planning board.
Planning board, I attended the planning board meeting on June 19th. Gatekeepers, 3691 Route 9 in Cold Spring. This is the only item on the agenda. They've been in through the planning board for the last 4 to 5 months. This is an amendment site plan. The property is developed with an existing 10,000 square foot retail warehouse building. The applicant is seeking an amended plan approval to utilize 2 acres of 11.6 acres for use to a landscaper contractor yard. And it was fully approved at last month's meeting. Meeting was adjourned at 7:55. I've been doing the planning board meetings for 11 years now, and this is the shortest meeting that I ever attended.
You said that last.
This was beats it.
Zoning.
So for zoning, I have nothing to report for June. They're taking off for August, and they will be back in September. So nothing spectacular there.
Highway.
Highway report was submitted by Adam Hoteling, Highway Superintendent. Highway crews have been out busy grading and filling potholes as quickly as they possibly can in order to get them back into shape. Continuous rain means we must return to these spots in the roads where the washout when they occurred. The crews are working to the best of their ability to complete these routine projects while dealing with the regular work issues that come up each day. Crews continue to work on storm drain erosion along Barrett Pond Road. The majority of the pipe work has been completed, and the remainder of the job should be finished probably within the next week or two. With the summer, more children are outside playing. Please be safe and be cautious, as everyone is aware of your surroundings. Slow down on the roads and obey the speed limits and other posted traffic signs. Crews assisted the town of Glassbury Park to remove large debris with machines in order to open up the park's rec stations. Anyone's know, there's these rec stations way in the back of Glassbury. I don't know how much use they've gotten, but the last few years, they've been overgrown, so this is what we did to clean it all up. So thank you for the highway department for taking care of that. Phone calls regarding this month, roughly 35. Spent approximately $8,800 on vehicle maintenance for the month of June. Thank you.
Thank you, highway crew. Building and land, I have nothing. Cemetery committee?
Nothing fancy over here either.
Okay. Tara, you're up.
First on the agenda is, excuse me, Continental Village resident Jesse Lubbers to discuss the Cortland Lake elevated bacteria levels.
Hi, Jess.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening. Yeah, so I don't know if you all read the note I sent in. Cortland Lake, which is in the center of Continental Village. I'm on the Park District Board, and we've been dealing with issues at the lake for the last couple of years. Last year, the lake was closed, open all summer long. This year, before the Memorial Day weekend, we had levels of fecal coliform, like 30 times the limit. So we had to close the beach and access to the beach to the residents, and it was closed for about a month. During that time, the Putnam County Department of Health came out, did some more testing, and they decided to do a larger investigation. And, the inlets coming in on Canopus Creek were 10 times the limit. There's another discharge from Spy Pond, which is in Cortland. That was also 10 times the limit, all around. But it was really highly concentrated at the beach where the people go. So we did some dye testing of our own septics, the town property. That was inconclusive. The Putnam County Department of Health is saying that, obviously it's tied to septics or multiple septics. There's about 30 houses in close proximity to the lake right there, but obviously these are all older houses with old septics. So we were hoping to get a workshop and try to come up with some more ideas, maybe with the county, with some town folks, and I have been soliciting some advice from the Hudson Highlands Land Trust and others to see if we can get in a room and try to figure out, like, what are some next steps to figure out the source and how we can maybe fix it.
I had an opportunity to speak with Richard Shea, my predecessor, about it, and he said that it was actually explored quite a few years back about doing a sewer system and treatment center, and the numbers to do that were just astronomical. I have a few questions. How often do they test? How often does the county test the water?
I think it's on a weekly basis, typically.
Weekly.
Yeah.
So, and I would assume the Memorial Day shutdown was based on the volume. I mean, we had how many torrential rains, and I'm sure it's overwhelming the septics, and they're all just going into. I mean, I don't know. Listen, we'll meet with anybody, and I think we need to rely on the experts, the Putnam County Health Department. I know there's some programs that Putnam Valley has utilized. A few of their lakes were contaminated, and there was a DEC program to go out and change the septics in and around these lakes. But I know Cortland Lake is not on that list because that was approached at one of the joint meetings of the three supervisors.
Yeah, I was reading up on the Putnam County. It was linked to, I think, like an MS4, and they were able to pass legislation of, like, within the watershed, kind of getting folks on a schedule of doing testing on their septic. Right. Obviously, there's pros and cons to that. We can solve this issue probably, but it could come at great expense to some of our residents.
It's not cheap to do.
It's not cheap. And obviously it would take both towns to get involved because the lake is split right down the middle.
Three, really, because you got Putt Valley.
Well, yeah, I get depending on how we would look at the watershed and look at that phasing.
Well, it goes right up. Right?
Yeah.
It goes right up through the three towns.
Yeah, so
Putnam Valley, I know the residents were given, I don't remember if they were given money or low interest rate loans to redo your septic. So there was incentive from the state DEC to do, but I can explore that with Jackie and Avi, the supervisor of Putnam Valley.
yeah, because I started going around and soliciting, like, just local septic vendors. I was like, how much does a test cost? And they're like, oh, that's only $500. I was like, well, maybe we can subsidize that, but that's not the big price tag. Right. It's when you find the problem, how do you fix it?
When it's failing that it's an issue.
Tens
and
of
identifying which ones are failing would not be easy either.
But right now it's like week by week, and we get there's a lag in the data. So, like, all the people call me that have like their own docks, and they're like, "Can we swim today?" I was like, "Well, Monday's numbers look fine, but it's obviously these are just regulatory numbers. It's not like people are going to get ill by going in there, but
just don't swallow the water."
Yeah,
Does the heat make a difference, you know, being that it's hotter these days, does that increase anything, or?
I'm not an expert, but we've been having a lot of issues with the lake, and we've put in, we've been doing treatments this year for the first time ever. So we have a series of treatments going on to help with the algae blooms and the grass that grows in there. But the lake is warmer because it is getting shallower. The deposits, you know, because of the dam, the lake is getting warmer. So that could be an indicator of why we're having the issue here.
And I know Spy Pond was treated as well. I remember hearing
It
that.
was treated last year. It was paused this year, but it sounds like the town of Cortland is going back to the idea of treating that. And that one's a little bit more obvious. When you go by it, you can smell, you know, some of the backyards of these houses are in the lake essentially.
Right.
So,
And the septics, I mean, that community was a summer community.
yeah.
And now every home is, you know, occupied 365, and they've all been increased in size, and the septics were probably
Same size.
prior to any Department of Health
Yeah,
regulation.
yeah, I know now you have to be 100 feet away from
Oh,
the
yeah,
water,
now.
but
Yeah,
now,
I have a quick question. Have you gone to the Cortland town
No.
board? No, okay.
yeah,
I
I
was
think
just
that
gonna
would
see
be
like what was
our
their
next thing.
feedback.
I wanted to obviously talk to you guys first, and then I have.
If you want to facilitate something with the town of Cortland, and I think Putnam Valley should be included as well.
All parties that kind of oversee that lake should be
Okay.
involved in the communication, because it will allow us to then delineate who is going to monitor what,
Okay.
at what point.
Thankfully on our board, we have Sherry, who's the town clerk for Putnam. So she's well in the know and she passes notes. But on Cortland side, I don't think we have as clear of a path of communication.
I have Dr. Becker's contact
Yeah.
if you want. We could arrange that, and we can get a small group together and try to come up with some sort of plan. Again, I think the health department would be a key.
Yeah.
to-
Because they're the ones that are doing they suspect the septics, but there's only so much you could do by sampling the water.
Right.
Just
It's
trying to
too
figure
late.
out.
When it's at the water, it's too
Yeah.
late. You got to stop it before it gets there. So.
Yeah.
You might want to get it done before the next season rolls around.
I mean, I think there's going to be, you know, a many-year problem, but we're just trying to figure out, like, what are, because, like, I think, like, a rule like they have in Putnam County, but I don't even know how that, or Putnam Valley, how that would even come about if we're allowed to do something like that.
And pump them. Have them pumped. People
Pump and test, and
people neglect their septics and don't pump them
Yeah.
as well. So.
I think we were going to do, like, a education campaign, but we, you know, right now, even the residents, I was like, do we do a mailer to let people know? Because right now, there's our meetings and our minutes in Facebook. But, you know, I was like, should we send out letting people know that there's an issue? And maybe someone will just take it upon themselves to check their septic or something.
All right, so we'll reach out to Cortland and Putnam Valley and try to set something up. Do you have a list of dates, or do you want to try to?
Yeah, I don't mind being the middleman, or, and I didn't know if we wanted to, I can, I don't think I can't set a date now, because I guess we have to see when everybody's available.
Yeah, we have to get everybody's calendar lined up, which isn't going to be simple, but.
Yeah, if you want to send me over their information, because I can,
Sure.
I have like now a new email with all the history of the closings and the elevated levels, so I can send it all out.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No, thank you, Jesse.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is a discussion with Badey Watson regarding Hudson Highlands Reserve's request for the issuance of consent by the town board to the formation of a sewage works corporation pursuant to the Transportation Corporations Law of the State of New York.
Don't worry. Welcome.
Good evening, Supervisor Van Tassel, members of the board. Judson Siebert of Keenan Bain PC, representing Hudson Highlands. For the record, I didn't mean to be informal. My suit jacket is in my office. Amidst the heat.
You gotta go.
Next meeting, please.
So as the board is likely aware, we obtained subdivision approval for the Hudson Highlands project from the planning board. The residential lots within that subdivision are going to be serviced by a privately owned sewage works corporation that's incorporated under this provision of New York state law called the Transportation Corporations Law. And one of the kind of kind of like an odd, kind of maybe anachronistic, but one of the components of that law is that such a corporation cannot be formed and recognized by New York State unless you get the consent of the governing body of the municipality in which it's going to provide service. So that's why we're here. We're also in sort of a kind of an administrative catch-22 because we are working, the developer and Glenn and Margaret at Badey Watson are working with the County Department of Health to get the final sign-off on the design and approval of the plant. The plant also needs a permit from DEC, a discharge permit from DEC. The county wants to see that before they'll act, and DEC says, we'll do it, but you have to come to us in the form of a corporation. The corporation has to be in existence. So that's, you know, we need to get this corporation formed, one, to satisfy a condition of the subdivision approval, but also to get that process completed.
Okay. I looked through the whole thing. I mean, it seems reasonable. This is why what we don't want happening to the lake there is what's happening to the lake. You want a proper system in place, and the checks and balances. Right. And I trust the design of Badey and Watson. I read through it. It looks like, you know, things seem in order. I'm sure it's engineered properly. It's going to be 22 new homes. The other ones are staying on their existing septic.
The either existing, and there's also a commercial building that's part of this that also has its own.
The building out.
Right.
That has its own septic.
That has its own, yes.
And then the other buildings are being abandoned. There was one building that's being abandoned or demolished.
All but one of the houses will be on the system. It's only the house that Joey Fresenia's friends built after he died for his wife.
Yeah.
And that's part of the property. That's one of the lots. It has a fairly new septic system, and it's remote from the rest of the lots.
Right.
So that's not going to be hooked up. But the Ulmer house, which is the other old house that's in there, that's going to be hooked up.
And the barn that's going to be the community center
That will be
is
hooked
also
up as
going to be
well.
attached.
That's
That probably
correct.
has well, there's probably no septic in there.
Well, there was an apartment in there.
Oh, there was.
Yeah, so there's something happening, but I can't tell you what.
Any questions?
Yeah, I just,
Just where the existing septic systems, are they going to be tested, or they have been? They're all up to date, is that?
Well, the only one, both of the systems that are going to stay in service, the commercial building that's down below the whole subdivision is it's probably 20 years old. But the Fresenda house is actually fairly new. I mean, it's 10 or 15 years old.
13?
Yeah, and that's built to the old specifications, and they've dropped the expected load on septic systems. So right now, anybody's septic system was built in the last 20 or 30 years at least is actually over-designed because the water-saving devices and the plumbing fixtures have reduced the expected load on septic systems. So they lowered the standard now, and these systems didn't get any smaller, so.
I got a couple questions. Each one of these private homes will have their own well, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, this septic system, correct me if I'm wrong, it's way down where all these other houses are, right? This big square in the middle, there's only like one area where this actual septic system exists, right? There's only one spot.
The new septic system that we put in is in one location
Yes.
by the Ulmer house.
Yep, okay. So, I mean, to get from house number one all the way down to that septic system, that's pretty far, isn't it?
Well, that's the problem. That's why lot one, which is the Fresenda house, is
Oh,
not
that's
gonna-
presented, lot one? Okay, I didn't know which one was
That's not gonna
presented.
be.
Okay,
That's
understood.
topographically, it's the furthest lot, and it's
Okay,
also
I didn't understand,
topographically
I
different.
didn't know which was the Fresenda house. Okay, just say,
They'll all be pumped.
okay, I was gonna say, it's pretty far.
There's a gravity system that picks up the things the houses along the main road. And then there's a septic tank system, and then there's a pumping system that pumps it up to the absorption.
Okay.
Which
I'm
will
just-
have backup power, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
Just curiosity, from house number two to that field, how far, you don't have an idea how far of a way that is, distance?
All I'd be doing is guessing.
Okay, just curiosity, because you're just saying it's pretty far, it looks to me, you know. So, all right, that's the only question I had. I mean, so The wells, though, around these, where the septic system's gonna be, they're all gonna be within, what, 200 feet away from the system, right? They have to be, right? Is that 100 feet or 200 feet?
It depends on whether the system is uphill or downhill. If the system is downhill from the well, it's 100 feet. If the well is downhill from the septic system, it's 200 feet. 200 feet, okay. I just want to mention that, you know, the advantage to this common system, as John kind of alluded to, is that it's going to be professionally managed. It's actually got some additional devices in there, and I can't explain exactly what they are, that pre-treated a little bit, and like I say, professionally managed, and that's a big difference. Septic tanks will be pumped out regularly and that kind of stuff.
And you guys you probably designed the one at Glassberry.
No, that was Insight Engineering.
Okay. That's working. I mean, we had an issue where somebody drove through it and destroyed it. But then,
I have a quick question. So all those homes, all those homes that are being built, their sewers or septic is going to one big septic? Is that what
One of the houses.
Okay. Okay.
No, I can't think of what it was.
so, I did have this conversation with Steve earlier. I still think that we gotta let Ron take a quick look at this before we approve. Steve, would you think?
Sure. The town's role in formation of a transportation corporation is very limited. You get to say whether or not you were in favor of it. You'll grant permission, if you will, to do it. But there are very limited grounds on which you might make that decision. The first one is that the town may want to have a sewer district or water district, with water transportation corporations as well, of its own, a municipal one in that area, and so you don't want to have a private system there. Now, I don't think that's the case here at all, but you still want to hear from your engineer on that point. Another ground is that the people forming the transportation corporation are not financially responsible. It often is the case that transportation corporations, the private systems that are set up, fail. And the town winds up having to go in and take over a water system or a sewer system. It's an expensive and difficult proposition. It costs a lot of money to people who live in the properties that are served by it. And so you want to make sure that whoever comes in is responsible. I don't think there's an issue with that here either. And lastly, although the DOH and to some extent the DEC, are going to go over the plans and make sure that everything works, you still want to have your engineer at least give it a once over and say, these aren't plans that can't possibly work. This is what they have here makes no sense. And that would be a basis for objecting to, and that you certainly want to wait and hear from Ron on. He got the initial submission that Judd provided with the, I think he went on vacation for some time during this month. We'll certainly hear from him by next month and can have a resolution ready.
When do you need it?
We dropped it on the 15th of September. From the planning, we got to start over after the 15th of September.
We will, we'll give Ron a 2-week period to review it and then get back to us, and then hopefully if there's any. What?
Perfectly honest. He was on vacation, he deserves a vacation. We waited for that. This meeting, you had to be postponed. We lost 2 months of this period that we really need to push it along, and I'm sorry.
Sure, it's pushed along. I will contact Ron and make sure he gets a review on this. If we need to meet at the end of July, could we do a meeting in the end of July? Or we're already at what's today's date?
Today's the 10th.
Tara, do we have time at the end of the month? Can we do a Wednesday?
I didn't look at the
wait till the
court
August-
schedule, but I'm sure we can figure something out.
Yeah. So I'll give him a 2-week period to review it and get it back to us if there's any, which I can't imagine there will be any changes. So
You're just making me really nervous, to tell you the truth, because then it's got to go back to DEC, who's got to look at it and say, yay, okay, and then it's got to go back to the health department, who's ready to sign, to be honest with you, but it's got to be, we got to start
I
clipping
will
the
make
time.
sure that Ron gets it to us in the next 2 weeks. Does that work?
Does it have to be approved by the health department by September 15th?
Everything has to be done by, I said September 15th, it could be a day or so off, but yes, everything, we have to present it to We have to present it to the town, to the planning board for signature, and then file it in the county clerk's office. Once we get the signature, that's the drop dead thing, the town planning board signature. And of course, at that time, we hand over $100,000 in recreation fees and a whole pile of
We're
money to the
anxious for
town,
that
if
as
that's
well.
any
Yeah.
incentive we'd like.
Oh, you want to build a softball field, we can do that too.
I just want one other
I'm not
question. I
gonna
think
stop asking.
during the planning board process, was there a limit of how big the houses could possibly be, like 2,800 square feet or anything like
They're all
that?
spelled out. The bedroom counts.
We've represented that they're gonna be under 3,000 square
Okay,
feet.
that's what,
It's
but-
all based on 5 bedrooms, each one of them. Yeah.
I know, that's the question I had. Someone may not want to build a 5-bedroom house, right? It's a possibility, right?
Well, you know, there's gonna be a design build process for the most part. So, I mean, these are gonna be offered by the owner. They're a design build firm.
So each house is going to be planned for 5 bedrooms, no matter what.
Well, I don't know.
That's worst case scenario.
Okay, no, that's what I'm just asking. That's,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, there's very little market for 5-bedroom houses, so the idea is between 3 and 4.
But the septic system is built
Built
for
for
22 5-bedroom homes.
That's
Right.
exactly. That's
So that's worst case scenario.
exactly.
Right.
That's what I'm just trying to figure out. Okay, that's what I. Yep. All right.
So I will make sure that we get it back, and does that work in the next 2 weeks? And then,
I gotta hope that it's gonna work, because I'm gonna have to, I don't wanna be hand carrying up and, you know.
I
having a
will
novena
contact
to
Ron
DEC.
tomorrow, and we're giving him a 2-week deadline to get it back to us. And then, what would be the Wednesday, the last Wednesday in July?
So the last Wednesday in July would be the 30th. That is technically 3 weeks from yesterday. 2 weeks would be the 23rd.
I'm away.
Well,
the
I'm really
20th.
concerned is, you said the planning board's got to approve this, right?
The planning board has approved
They've
it.
approved it.
Already
No,
did approve. I thought
they
you
have
said they
approved
go back.
it.
Yes.
We have to present the map for signature, which means everybody else has to sign it first. But our approval expires.
I understand, but you don't need the planning board to do anything after this, because the planning board may not even be meeting in August. That's what I'm trying to figure out
No,
here.
we
All
don't,
right.
we don't need to meet with the planning.
All right, very good.
All right, so we will return it to you within the next 2 weeks, and then we'll schedule a meeting for the Wednesday, July 30th, to vote on it. That work?
Tara's not here.
No, that's okay. Kelly will be here.
And I am not.
We got it
here.
covered.
Not that
I
you
know you're
need
not
my
here. It doesn't
opinion or
matter.
vote, so.
You're right.
Be here.
Well, we're gonna make sure
We will figure
Jason-
something out. We will
If
figure it
not,
out.
if not, we have a meeting the
If not, I
following,
can face it.
Yes, we will figure it out.
the following Thursday, we would meet anyway.
We'll figure
It's
it
our monthly. Everybody making that one? We're making that?
Yes.
You guys, you're not.
I told you.
August
plenty of
7th
time.
is what he's saying is the next town board meeting. Is
We'll
that
have
too,
4 people.
cutting
We'll-
it too
we'll-
close for you?
We'll get it to you before then. If we have to do a,
Roast, we have a special meeting?
we could do a
Make sure
special
you
meeting
have
during
your
the day.
rubber on you, okay?
Hey, Jason will be back. Yeah. Yes.
We'll be fine. We'll
be-
get it to you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You drive up to the DEC with me, and we'll deliver the load.
I will. I will be.
Thank you, gentlemen.
I might be a little scarier than him.
That's true.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next is a resolution approving the revocable license for the county emergency broadcast tower, and this is a roll call vote.
So this has been on our table for a long time. This is all part of the emergency system, emergency communication system for Putnam County. We've been back and forth with OSI and the county so many times. We finally have an agreement that will allow them to construct the tower at this point.
Well, the deal is this: the county is still working out the final terms of what will ultimately be the property exchange agreement with OSI. The town's set on that. It's just the county's aspect of it that's being held up.
Our end of it.
Our end's done. It's the
Wrapped
county and
up.
OSI. But the county is, of course, very anxious, because it's been a long time, to get started with the work on the tower. So what this is a temporary license, which will, with OSI's blessing,
Right.
allow the county to come in and begin work on the tower. In the meantime, the county and OSI are going to hammer out the final provisions of what will ultimately be, yes, exactly, the property swap agreement that will allow the tower to be built and remain there indefinitely. That is going to come back in the next couple months or something, depends on when the county and OSI get it done, for another vote by this board.
as
But in the
long as-
meantime, this one will allow the work on the tower to get
Tower
done.
can go up. I know that this is the last piece of the puzzle for the radio system. The system is working countywide. There are a few dead areas still that hopefully, we had trained on the new radios the other night at the firehouse, so, and the communication is amazing even without this tower, but I know there's some dead areas that the Cold Spring has identified,
It
so.
doesn't work inside houses or in buildings.
301 still dead areas, I think, right?
Over by like the cemetery area.
Oh, you mean going through
First,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Well, I don't think the radio, I mean, you can listen to portable communication between departments in Patterson right now at our firehouse. That's how, it's amazing, the communication, so. Tara, do you want to go ahead and read the
Sure.
resolution?
This is a resolution approving the revocable license for County Emergency Broadcast Tower. Whereas the County Putnam has requested permission to construct an emergency broadcast tower at the town's highway garage in Nelsonville, and whereas the town board has before it a draft revocable license entitled Access and Use Agreement, under which the county will be allowed to undertake preparatory work for construction of the emergency broadcast tower, and whereas the town board finds the terms and provisions of the access and use agreement to be acceptable. Now, therefore, be it resolved as follows. 1, that the town board hereby approves the access and use agreement, and 2, that the supervisor is authorized to execute the access and use agreement and any documents necessary to carry out the terms thereof.
Okay, can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Jason's absent. Councilwoman Farrell.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you.
Next is a resolution approving change order number 1 for the Garrison Landing Water District implementation of well number 8 water main extension for T&A construction in the amount of $4,715.37.
So this, Bobby and I were both down there and saw that this was something that had to be done, and it was just easier to do it while the contractor was there. They replaced the manifold where all the wells come in. There's currently three wells that don't really work well, and we do have our one high-yield well, which is finally in service. Did the truck get,
You
is
know,
the trail?
last time, I stopped by there last week, it was still there.
I know, I saw it too.
So I'll take a ride by tomorrow maybe and see.
So can I get a motion approving the change order for T&A construction for $4,715.37? Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is a resolution approving the conflict of interest disclosure form, and this is again as a roll call vote.
So this was something that came up recently that, elected officials as well as special board members, employees, I would assume, of the town would need to sign it.
Not employees.
Just people that have voting ability.
Yes,
Okay.
elected and appointed officials. I
So,
don't mean to steal your thunder, John, but what you're doing here is adopting a policy, and the policy is in effect, well, as long as you want it to be in effect this year and going forward. If you really want to codify this and make it a law, you should adopt a local law amending your ethics code. I'll be happy to put that together for if you want, but you'd wanted this in place so that it would be executed now.
This could go into our manual, employee manual.
You can, well, yeah, but employees don't have to.
Right.
Well, we
submit
are
it.
considered employees as well.
Oh, I see. Yes, that's true. All right, in that sense, yes.
Judy, would you like to add? Thank you, Judy, for putting this
Sure, you're
together.
welcome. No, I think this is great and will help for any potential conflicts with any of our boards. And this would apply to the Recreation Commission too, I assume.
Yeah, I guess they have
because
decision-making.
there's a lot of decision-making that goes on in the town, and we really appreciate all of our volunteers.
And it's hard in a
who
town
are
this
doing
small
this.
to
It
not
is,
know or
yes.
be related or worked for somebody, so, but we'll work through it, that's for sure. I've recused myself a few times, and I know we've had to, so. All right, so can I get a motion to approve the conflict of interest disclosure form?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Councilwoman Farrell.
I vote aye.
Jason's out. Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cotter.
Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you, Bernie, and thank you, Judy, for putting it together.
You're welcome.
Next is a resolution authorizing the Highway Department purchase of a 2024 Dodge Ram 2500 Tradesman Truck with plow from Robert Green Truck Division off the Onondaga City Contract with funds received through auctioning off old equipment in the amount of $56,864.45.
So this is not another truck. The truck that we approved last month was sold by the time we went.
There was an issue. By the time they sent the resolution to the place, the truck that we had approved had been sold. So this is in replacement of the truck that they approved last month. Now, do we need to rescind the resolution from last month?
Doesn't this one modify it
This
and
essentially
supersede
trumps
it?
yes.
Yeah, I think if it supersedes it, you don't need to, it's not like you're gonna spend the money twice.
You don't have it to spend.
Price the same?
It's actually, this truck is actually less money than the one that you approved in June.
It's a
By like less
2024.
than $1,000, but still.
Can I get a motion approving the Town Highway Department to purchase a 2024 Dodge Ram Tradesman Truck with plow from Robert Green Truck Division of the Onondaga City Contract with funds received through auctioning off old equipment in the amount of $56,864.45.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
Next is to schedule interviews for the
Sorry.
vacant planning board position. Right now, there are 4 people.
Oh, yeah,
We do,
So-
yeah, because I reached out to the ones that had previously,
Right, yeah.
from 2023, and 2 people were still interested. 1 person didn't respond.
So we have 4 candidates for
We
one.
had 2 new and then 2 from the previous
I
round.
wonder if we
yes.
could interview for both conservation and planning and ask these people if they're interested to be on either board. I mean, some of them may not be qualified for conservation, but it's worth a shot. So we can bring these 4 in and interview them, but we need to pick a date when we can do it.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys typically do interviews downstairs in the conference room, so you don't have to worry about up here, so
It's
whenever.
really based on their availability as well, so why don't we pick the Wednesdays in August and shoot for those dates and see who's
Try
available.
to get them
So
all
I'll
4 in
reach
one
out
night.
about the first Wednesday in August, which is August 6th. Is that okay? That would be the night before our next town board meeting.
Yeah,
That's
fine.
good? And then we'll go from there?
And we'll go from
Okay.
there.
Are we gonna try to get all 4 on the same night?
Typically, that's what I
That's
try
we
to do.
I know,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that'd be good.
And I would start those at, is 7 good?
7's good. And even 15 minutes each would be
Yeah,
more than
that's
sufficient.
What was the
It's a
date?
15
August what?
August 7.
7,
No,
okay.
August 6th.
6, sorry.
The 7th is.
The 7th is our town
is
board
the
meeting, so it would be the 6th. Next is to schedule any workshops or meetings.
I have a request from the residents of South Mountain Pass for a workshop discussing the road. The date I would like to try that is August 20th. So we need to
7:30?
yeah, we need to notify the residents on South Mountain Pass. I don't know if we have that ability, but
Hold on one
Well, we got a couple emails, right, from some
yeah,
people.
we have several emails requesting attention to the
Well, why
road.
don't we reach out to people who sent the email and tell them to tell their neighbors and see if they
Gotta be
want to
a way
be
we
interested.
I can contact about 6 people on South Mountain Pass that if they want their workshop, then I'll email them all.
We could probably
They
just
all
put
kinda communicate
something
with-
in their mailbox as well.
Yeah.
Jason is a resident there, so we
Yeah,
could certainly.
He should know a
he knows.
plethora of people.
I mean, I can easily go through the tax roll and just send everybody a letter on South Mountain Pass.
And you could put it on the website.
And put it on the
so people-
website, yeah.
And then everybody can start chatting about it.
So there's that, and then there's the monthly meeting on August 7th.
Anything else?
Next is the code enforcement monthly report. This is for June. Total fees collected, $33,040. There were 40 total permits issued, 4 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 36 all other permits. There were 36 certificates of occupancy issued, 1 stop work order, 5 inspections of public assembly, 18 inspections of commercial occupancies, 14 were in Philipstown, 4 were in the village. Projects of significance, the building inspector would like to remind everyone to take time to make sure your pool is safe for summer. There is info available at the building department if anyone has any questions.
Please make sure your pool is safe. Tragedies happen very quickly, and there's no going back from them. So please make sure your gates are working. Greg has information available at the building department to improve the safety, so.
Is he inspecting like the gates? Is that
Well,
something
if
like
you
random
get,
check?
when you get a new
When you
pool
get a new
installed, he'd
pool.
go
You're
out.
gonna get a
yeah.
CO.
He doesn't go out and randomly check, but, yeah, just, it's on pool owners to make sure that that's working.
Next up is any other business that may come before the town board.
I attended a meeting today at the Village of Cold Spring with New York State DOT representatives, the new regional director, as well as the local guy, I don't remember names, Mayor Foley, Mayor Winward, Senator Rollison was in the room, as well as Linda Cooper from State Parks, and Brian Nice. They're looking to improve the sidewalk conditions. Fjord Trail was invited as well, but they did not attend, but they're looking to improve the sidewalk conditions along 9D. If you go past the tennis courts going north on 9D, the sidewalk turns into blacktop. Brian is disabled in a wheelchair and has great difficulty getting from his home, which is a few blocks down, to any of the services at, Food Town, et cetera. The thought that we've had for years is to create sidewalk space all the way from 301 to the Washburn parking lot in order to make the trail system accessible. Brian had some videos. Ronan Kiter, who's working with Brian this summer, they did some videos and photos of the amount of people walking down that hill going down towards the Washburn lot. There's a lot of people walking on the road. It's not a safe access to state parks. I was pushing state parks and DOT. Since they closed the Breakneck train station, there is no access from the train other than from Beacon to the trail station, to the trailheads. And in Beacon, you would have to walk up over Mount Beacon to get to the trailheads. So people are no longer getting off the train at Breakneck to hike. Not that many did it to begin with. So now if they're taking the train to hike, you need to get off at Cold Spring. If you walk up Fair Street, which is going to be under construction very soon, there is no sidewalk once you get to past Riverview. And if you walk up Main Street and north on 9D, the sidewalk is in rough shape and it ends at Hamilton. So, the discussion we were pushing for, of course, the state DOT does not have funds available currently to upgrade it. Fjord Trail is here. They're looking to put the trail in from Stony Point north, and eventually they want to go south. But I think it's a golden opportunity for them to invest in this sidewalk system that would allow people safe access to not only the Fjord Trail, if and when it happens, but certainly to the number one day hike in the country now is inaccessible by Metro North. The onus keeps coming back to the village and the town, which I don't think is fair. State Parks was there today, and frankly, I was disappointed in the response from State Parks. Fjord Trail was invited to this meeting today. They did not attend. I don't know. I know there was one of the representatives is away on vacation, which this is the time of the year. There's quite a few employees on that staff. I would have thought that somebody from Fjord Trail would have been in attendance. We did get some ideas for grants going forward. There is what's called the 2050 plan that DOT is developing to improve accessibility on New York State roads. But these solutions are a long way off. These are not anything that are going to happen in the next 5 years. Brian needs relief. Brian is, he's in need of access to the village and in access to the services. There is an existing sidewalk that's there, that it's a blacktop path and it's in terrible shape. So I asked the DOT if we were to come up with funds between the town, the village, and the county to repave that. I mean, it would be inexpensive. It's not something, but do we have to bring it to New York State DOT standards? And his answer was, I will look the other way. So it's basically, we kind of got a green light to go ahead and repave that. I'm going to, with the village, the town, and the county, I think we should be able to come up with funds to do a strip of blacktop. I can't imagine what it would cost, but just to improve what's there. If we were to bring it up to state DOT standards, it would be, million or in that range, which we can't afford. To repave what's there or grind what's there, make it accessible. New York State DOT is doing, I think it was 17 or 18 ramps. So within this community, they're taking the curbs, they're making ramps going down so you can get off the curb onto the street, go across the street and up another ramp. So my question was to them, so you're making a ramp, and some of them are in that area. So you're making a ramp to a sidewalk that doesn't exist or that isn't usable, which really, but he said, you know what, and I'll accept it. It's step one. It's something. At least, in the chair, Brian can get off the curb and onto the roadway or across the roadway. Oh, Julia Sniffen was there as well from Haldane with concerns about safety for the school kids getting, from the village into crosswalks and so on. The other thing the village is working on is crosswalks similar to what's out front here and at the corner. The village is investing their own money, hoping to recoup it at some point, but we were like, this is the time to do it. If DOT is gonna do it, when you have the curb ripped up and when you're fixing this is the time. But the process, as you can see, is just so complex to make things work. Sometimes it isn't always the best way to do things, but it's the way it has to be done. The gentlemen from DOT, they were both outstanding. They worked with us, but it comes back to money and where we're getting the money. But there's a lot of money being put into this community currently for the trail system. State Parks is still, I don't want to say advertising the trail system, but they're certainly promoting it to the point that, I think we deserve more assistance than we're getting. And a simple sidewalk along 9D would make a huge difference for people to be able to access right now to get to the trails. If and when Fjord ever happens, it would be 8 years to begin with, but right now we still have the busiest hike in the country. It's not called that anymore, but you go look at it. The numbers haven't dropped, that's for sure. There's still a lot of people in those woods, a lot of people. Breakneck is closed. They eliminated the parking that was north of Breakneck. Listen, it's construction, I understand it. Duchess Manor is not open yet, so there's no parking there. They have 47 parking spots here, which is at the Washburn lot. For hundreds of thousands of people, there's 47 parking spots in this community. Ultimately there is parking, I think 450 system-wide, but I don't agree with the way they phased it, they closing that Breakneck area, but it has to happen. The tunnel, we're working with residents that live near the tunnel who are unhappy with the traffic backing up. I met with Senator Rollison out there about one of the driveways. There's only so much they could do to make it, improve the safety. Ultimately it'll be a safer corridor, but we have to work through the construction. So I was unhappy with state parks today, and I let them know it. I let them know that I'm unhappy with it, and I don't think they have our best interest. They have a budget, they have a program, they have a goal that they're looking to get to, but we still live here. The people live here need to be able to move. They need to be able to safely access the trail system, as do the people that are coming here, the tourists. It's only a matter of time before somebody's going to get hit walking down that hill. I've done it myself. Come out and walked to the village, and it's not a safe place to go. And there's a lot of people doing it. So odds are something's going to happen, and it's not going to be on us. We've asked for assistance. We've asked for this to happen, but we'll see what happens and where it goes from there. So.
This improvement you're talking about isn't going to extend where it ends.
No, I'm just talking about attempting to resurface what's there.
What's there already.
And it's not going to be to DOT standards. It would simply be repaving.
Where does it end? It doesn't
At
go
Hamilton.
At Hamilton.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even go down to
No,
It
it
doesn't
goes
go
to,
down that
what's the
hill.
intersection that Brian's at? It would go, yeah, I guess it does. It does go past Brian. So whatever's there currently,
I
yeah.
don't know if I know Brian, but I saw a man in a wheelchair
Yeah.
yesterday really struggling.
Yeah, yeah. As he stated, he was there today. It was a very emotional, description of, his life trying to get around. And I don't think it's fair with what this community has and the potential and what's coming. I think a safe access for him to, food and other resources is not too much to ask, so.
John, that will also, not just him, but it will also allow access to many other individuals who are in wheelchairs or whatever, able to access our community. I think that's really important that we have that accessibility.
And I don't want to get into the whole fjord thing, but
Yeah, no.
the river-bound walk between Little Stony Point and Dockside, that's a flat approach. So the discussion has always gone back there to make it ADA compliant or AGOTA compliant, which is even a higher standard, instead of coming up the hill. I've said, why not just utilize New York State Road? It's a state highway. It's a 60-foot right-of-way. You were using 20. And it's always getting pushed back to the river, and that's the reason. So, but my argument would be to that, if you can access Duchess Manor at that elevation, we can certainly access the village of Cold Spring at 90 and 301. I'm just going to do rudimentary elevation. I have a thing in my truck that tells you what sea level you're at. And I don't know how Duchess Manor is going to meet that standard. And that's their hub, ultimately. So, but whatever. We'll
But I agree. Long story short, I agree. I think they should come and support our community and who lives here and their accessibility through the community. Go ahead.
So in the interim, to make it accessible, you're considering paving.
Yeah. What's
Is
there?
is it possible to seek private donors for that? Because I know along the highway, there are signs, this is this portion of the highway, that portion. Would DOT agree to that? To have some unnamed, perhaps, person?
They were sympathetic to Brian's case, and that's why he was willing to, because there is a legal criteria that once the sidewalk gets to a point, and if the village is not capable of restoring it, then state DOT has to come in. So I was like, well, we can go wreck it tomorrow, and then you have to come in. But he said, well, that's not. So I said, I came up with this idea of what if we just repaved what's there. And he said that really doesn't meet our requirements, and once you go over a certain percentage of repair, then it's replaced, and then it has to be to deal. But he said, look, we'll let that go. If we could get a private donor that would assist. But I can't imagine it would be overly expensive. We have the equipment to grind it, and certainly the county, between us, the county, and the village, we should be able to come up with the funds to just resurface it, at least buy us some time to.
Labor, we're paying, we don't have to pay for labor already.
Well, we're paying it.
Well, anyway, there's working as it is.
It's
so.
terrible.
It's not a straight, it's not like you're just gonna rock in there and repave it.
No,
You have to
you'd
flatten
grind
it and.
there's
like,
roots, there's issues. It's gonna take some work, but like I said, between the county, the town, and the village, you would hope the state would have,
Support it.
but they have too many regulations. Yes, sir.
Oh, before C starts waving her hand, please come to
The
the
microphone.
Sorry, I just don't want to see.
Could we maybe use this as an opportunity to get the various organizations who are concerned about over-tourisms to work together to raise funds as a community effort?
That was the hope of today.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is bringing in, Protect the Highlands, bringing in some of the private groups and doing something like an Adopt the Sidewalk program.
That it's a wonderful thought, absolutely, but we need it now. That's the thing.
Right.
That-
But even improving that
Going
upon what you're doing to get it to that ADA compliant,
Yeah.
which I think is what you're saying is
I think it's important.
that would be a great just boon for the community, having everybody work together to getting something ADA
Pick
compliant.
a section of sidewalk and pay for it,
No,
basically.
no,
Yeah.
seriously.
Sponsor
It might be an interesting
Maybe you can
initiative.
even put your initials into concrete.
Yeah, or something like that. But it could
Oh,
be a great
I
way to
think-
bring the community back together.
I think it's wonderful, yeah.
Okay.
But this is something that we need to, and that's gonna take time, and I think it's a wonderful
Right.
thought, but this is something we need to act on.
No, I
Now,
understand
so-
that. But I think, just to further enhance that, because I think that would be great for the whole community, just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, can
I'm gonna start the process very soon, try to figure out, yeah.
The drill.
John, if I could, I don't mean to, you guys are making me really itchy here, though. A town cannot solicit donations.
Okay, hold on one second.
A town cannot solicit donations. A town can accept donations. So if one of you, independent of the town board, wanted to go out and say, hey, it would be great to, or yeah, anybody else, wouldn't it be great if people donated money to the town for, sidewalk improvements? That's fine, but you can't say the town board's gonna solicit, or we'll let you put your initials in the sidewalk, or any other, you can't donate bricks, that
was a
town's-
joke.
Okay, good. I'm falling out of my seat here, John. Okay, Just so we
I
understand.
make Steve nervous sometimes. So we want, like I said, I'm gonna reach out to the county. The county DOT was there today, the engineer from Putnam County. So I think we can somehow facilitate access for at least one section of it. Between the three of us, that we should be able to come up with the money to go ahead and do that. But I'll be back to that, so. Anything else from the board?
Yeah, just want to make sure, the municipal channel's back up and working, okay? But it's still, we're having an issue with the audio when they play the thing. So anyway, it's back up, you can just scrolling through different things now, so it's there at least.
The meetings are up too on the channel.
Yeah, I know, but yesterday there was no audio.
Did you have your volume?
No, I think he took it down because like,
You have to call the head end.
yeah, he's gonna, anyway, there's a problem with the audio for some reason. At least we got the working at least.
Thank you. Judy?
The short-term rental committee met Tuesday, made a lot of progress, so we will have a draft by August, and we're meeting August 21st again.
Oh,
So that's
fantastic.
going well. And I know Steve and Bob, I think, met with the other committee.
Yes, with the
Zoning
conservation subdivision.
Yes.
Yes, it's the zoning update advisory committee. And we're circulating final comments in regard to the proposed changes to the conservation subdivision regulations. Should have those for the August meeting, at least by way of recommendation. I don't know about a revised law, but I would think certainly in September we'd be in a position, if the board likes the changes, that is, to introduce it and start the public hearing on it.
And we'll have the IMA for the Village of Nelsonville with the plowing.
The snow removal IMA will be for the August meeting, as well as the draft local law for the petroleum storage changes.
September, oh, that'll be August.
No, it'll be August, you have a couple
Great.
weeks.
Great. Okay,
And the food scrap committee.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to do a resolution on it, but there is an updated contract that's
Yeah, I
effective
keep
August
getting
1st.
emails from this fella, Michael Fiorara, and I don't know how to get back to him. He's sending me things to look at, so
Karen Arnold has, he said there's an updated contract.
Yes,
and
and I
you-
gave Steve a hard
I have a
So
hard copy of it.
I don't
so-
want to engage it until you review it.
No,
so-
I'll review it and
and
I'll
then
get back to him.
Okay,
Out of a clear blue sky, he's sending me.
yeah, there is a small
Karen maybe
change.
gave
yeah.
him your email.
Maybe, I don't know, but now I know who he is, I'll talk to him.
Thank you.
Anything from the audience? Yes, Nat, whoever would like to go. Ladies before gentlemen.
Yes.
Definitely ladies first.
No, but the newly elected board member.
Not yet.
He's pending, he's pending.
Hi, Dinky, how are you?
Well, I'm a bit disjointed today. I've had kind of having a bit of a rough time, but
I'm sorry.
question. I'm assuming on the live streaming that there's no way for the people listening to ask a question. That's just for
We opted
listening.
Out of that, we did not include that. We like to see people here in the room.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Hello, everybody.
This is a big crowd.
Come on down. Come on down. The water's
This is a
fine.
big crowd for us, but yeah.
Okay. I have two things. One, about the highway department. I want to commend the highway department. I live in a particularly difficult part of the world, and they do a great job with these big summer storms. They're doing a very good job of filling in the potholes, as you have pointed out. However, we are still waiting for an update on this FEMA issue on the backside of East Mountain Road South, referring to a retaining wall. Now, Tara's been very helpful and sent me, what the situation was. There's a resolution from 2023. Okay, now I think we're in 2025, authorizing $6,365 for a survey by Badey and Watson. I'm sorry they left, because maybe they could have told us about that. And then for work by another firm. How can we keep up with what's going on with this? 2023 and 2025, it's...
Ron, actually, I spoke to Adam today. Ron and Adam were in the field today in that area. I am proposing that we're going to pave 1 mile of that section of road, but that work for that FEMA restoration needs to happen before that paving can be done. I wanted to pave this a year ago, but there's a 1 mile section from, I forget the box number, but after Trout Brook, it's going to remain dirt, and then when you start going down into Wikipedia, it's very steep and windy. There is a 1 mile section that we are proposing. It's got to go before, we're going to do a secret review on it, which Ron is working on currently, and then I'm sure there's going to be a public discussion about it. But my plan it would be to pave 1 mile. There's a 1 mile steep section. It goes down to, there was that one home that was abandoned for quite a while.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. So from
Davis's house on down.
Going down, yes.
Right.
There's 1 mile that's always chronically
past Sally's
destroyed.
house. Right.
Destroyed.
Yeah.
And it's filling the creek with dirt, and it's just not sustainable. The argument of it's going to be a thoroughfare to 84, it's really not there, because there's going to be still plenty of dirt areas that would hopefully prevent. And if you're coming from Wikipedia, you're not going to know. You're going to be well into Philipstown before you realize it's paved. And the whole area in Wikipedia is paved.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
Why are we waiting for this from FEMA? From
Anything
2023, the survey was done, apparently. What's
we are still wrapping up FEMA projects from storms after storms. They take forever. It's federal emergency management. So it's a forever process. And Maureen, our highway clerk, is wonderful at it. She has got it down pat, because we have done it so many times, from Irene, Sandy, every major storm, July 9th. When we get FEMA money, she's got a system. She would probably be a better resource for you if you're interested in finding out more about it.
Okay. Well, it's not just me. I mean, something happened in 2023 and we're still waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Now, next. We are in New York State, in the United States. We know what's happening, nationally, internationally, and for the state. Our state has put forward a number of protections for our vulnerable citizens who may be undocumented. We know that the people that the ICE is rounding up are not just people who are criminals, who are dangerous criminals. We know that they are working people who are here without proper documentation. They are therefore considered to be criminals. I know that in Philipstown we had an equal protection resolution passed in 2017. I know that the state had the 2020 Protect Our Courts law passed. I want to know from this board, is it time for us to have a proposal for something more current in terms of what are we going to do to be sure that ICE is not overstepping its bounds and that our citizens in Philipstown are properly protected?
We, as you know, we are not a sanctuary city, but it's basically considered a sanctuary city. I did not support that in 2017. I voted against it. It was approved. We adopted it. But if you read through that resolution, it does not protect anybody from federal or state agency. So if ICE came here to take somebody, there'd be no protection from the town of Philipstown. My argument then, and it's still the same argument now, we don't retain anybody's naturalization records. We never have. We have no reason to, and we don't have our own police department. So we have no control over the Putnam County Sheriff's or the Cold Spring Police Department. I just think it's a game that we are not a part of, and I'm kind of thankful that, not that I have any disrespect for anybody. I think everybody deserves the right to be a human and to be treated as a human. But we, the town of Philipstown, we really don't have a play in this game currently, the way I see it.
But if someone, can I just ask, because
Sure.
I wasn't on the board when
Yep.
that was passed, but if someone were to have knowledge and they work for the town, and someone came into town hall and asked them, do you have knowledge of this person? They just happen to have knowledge, not any documentation, you're right, we don't collect that. Would that resolution prohibits them from sharing any information?
It would depend who's asking, but if it says in there, we will not share with any agency other than a state or federal agency.
With a court order, right, with a...
And our resolution is very clear. It says state or federal agency. So if ICE came here and asked Tara for information, Tara would be mandated to, but we don't have any. We don't store any.
No, but I understand that this is, I have to see the exact wording of the
Yeah,
resolution.
I
I will
have
check
it.
it, but town employees are not to assist, not to assist. There are many different ways in which these horrendous agencies are now behaving, that town employees may be confused about what is assisting or not, and what not assisting. John, you're just restricting this to giving out information.
Right.
But there's a lot more in this than just giving out information.
But
I mean, these people come into our communities, and you're saying, you know, we're not a police force, we don't have this. I'm thinking that maybe the situation now is different from in 2017. Maybe it is time for some of us citizens who are concerned to write up a new resolution and present it to the board. That's basically the only thing that I can do as a citizen
You certainly
in the face of the affect of the town supervisor saying that basically we don't have a dog in this fight.
Right.
I
What
think
is
we
the
do have a
scenario?
dog in this fight.
Give me the scenario where we, as the town of Philipstown, would be involved in something like that. I other than the court, and I did have a lengthy discussion with Camille before she left. I haven't spoke with the court would have to give up their information. They had no option. We as
Wait a minute. No, there's more to it than that. I mean, our court doesn't really deal much with these kinds of issues, but if somebody was in our court system for a traffic ticket or whatever, and ICE decides to come in and arrest that person because they've been tracking them and they know that they are one of these so-called illegals.
Right.
That is against the law for ICE to be able to do that. Now, what are we going to do to make sure that our courts obey this?
our court
this,
is obeying the New York State law.
Yes.
Our
yes.
court obeys the New York State
Yes.
law.
In other words, but what about the employees that are there? You know, they will have some role in assisting or not assisting the ICE.
Well, according
Anyway,
to,
I think I've made my point clear, and I think I will go home and cogitate on this and speak to some other people.
Good.
And if we would like to submit some kind of a resolution, I'm sure Tara will explain exactly, you know, how I can go about doing that.
sounds good.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Dinky.
Thank you.
Yes, Nat.
I just wanted to, Nat Prentice on behalf of the Comprehensive Plan Priority Planning Committee. I just want to make sure that we, or at least I want to promise to help get back on track a couple of things that we've
You've
let.
been busy.
We're going to set all that nonsense aside and get back on track on two things. The first is I've got some work to do, or we've got some work to do to see if we can't get this New York State pro-housing community designation. Just requires going over to the building department and getting out some information. So I'm going to try to do that. Tara, will you help me get on the portal or whatever it needs?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll get that done. We'll get that done.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is the keeping the pressure on, or at least continuing to consider this the Community Preservation Fund idea. And I think the Ted Warren and them are going to come to you and ask for a workshop.
I think the environment is different now than when it was when they proposed it the last time. I think it would be a different scenario currently.
So you think it's something that the time has come?
I do.
Good.
I do.
Okay, just
Thank you.
those two things that we try to keep going.
Yes. While you're there, congratulations, Nat. And I want to mention the campaign. It was, not going to get into any of it, but I appreciate all four of you, the effort that you put into it, the time that you put into it to benefit the town of Philipstown. So my thanks to all four candidates for all of the work and legwork and just being willing to put your name out there and exposed to it all.
With a few signs, right?
Right, yes. So thank you to all four of them.
You're welcome. Thank you. That's nice.
Thank you.
So currently, we still have the 2 vacancies, one on the Conservation Board and one on the Planning Board, which we're going to try to take care of in August. And then we have approval of vouchers.
Approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Highway.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Park District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Continental Village Water District.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you all.
Second.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you.